What's up, everyone? Mr. Noob2Gamer. Today we're going to be talking about Battlefield Bad Company 3. We've been waiting 10 years for this game to come out, and we still haven't gotten anything. And now that we're close, kind of getting close to the next Battlefield game, which will probably come out at the end of 2021, so we're still over a year away, but, still, I think it's fun to speculate about what the next Battlefield game will be, especially after the dumpster fire that was Battlefield 5. We're definitely at the lowest point we've ever been in the Battlefield series, so they really need to come up with something that can really get people reinvested into the Battlefield series, because I know a lot of people that loved Battlefield, including myself, that when Battlefield 5 came out, they said, fuck this, I'm done with Battlefield. A lot of people moved on to Call of Duty. A lot of the big Battlefield YouTubers are not even playing Battlefield anymore. They're playing Modern Warfare Ground War, or Warzone. You notice that? Because Battlefield is at the worst point it's ever been. Battlefield 5 was fucking awful. So DICE really needs to make an amazing game in 2021 if they want their fans to come back to the series. And in this video, I'm going to make the case for Battlefield Bad Company 3 to be the next Battlefield game, because we've waited so long for Bad Company 3. It's been 10 years since Battlefield Bad Company 2, which in my opinion is the greatest Battlefield game ever made, and I've played all of them. Battlefield Bad Company 2 is still my all-time favorite. It's the game that got me into Battlefield in the first place, and it's the game that keeps me going. Like, I play this game a lot more than Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 5 put together. I mean, Bad Company 2 is an excellent game. If you haven't played before, even though it's kind of old and the mechanics are kind of clunky, the movement's a little bit clunky. I mean, it is a game from 2010. Still, the maps are amazing, the overall presentation is amazing, and if you haven't played before, you're really missing out on something. So just putting that out there, that Bad Company 2 is just a fantastic game, and my all-time favorite game in the Battlefield series. So because Bad Company 2 is my favorite, I might be a little bit biased because, there are a lot of people out there. I feel like the overall consensus in the Battlefield community is that they want the next Battlefield to kind of be similar to Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, where it's kind of like a modern military shooter, and that's what people want. But to me, it's just like, we've already gotten that. We got Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 back to back, and I know it's been 7 years since the last modern military Battlefield. I get it, people just want to come back to that. It will be a new generation of consoles, so there's a lot more they could do. Maybe we can get like 128 players and more destruction. And I can imagine that if that game does come out, if we get a modern military shooter for Battlefield 6 or whatever they would call it, I'm sure it could be an amazing game, but that's just not what I want, because since Bad Company 2, we already had two modern military shooters. We had Battlefield 3, we had Battlefield 4, and they went to World War I, they went to World War II after that, but they never went back to Bad Company. So I think it's time for EA and DICE to revisit the Bad Company series and finally make a Battlefield Bad Company 3. I think it's time because the Battlefield series has felt really stale in recent years. The games just feel way too similar to each other. Even though Battlefield 1 is set in World War I, it feels a little bit too modern to be an actual World War I game. And Battlefield 5, DICE's interpretation of World War II was questionable at best. Having women with robot arms in the front lines of World War II was a bit strange, and it just didn't really feel like a World War II game either, just like how Battlefield 1 didn't feel like a World War I game. So from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 5, the series was starting to get a little stale to me because all those games just felt way too similar to each other. And I know the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 were excellent games. Well, at least later on they were. At launch, they were fucking atrocious. I mean, the bugs and the glitches, it was really bad, but they eventually became really good games. And I would also say that I like Battlefield 1, but it's just repeating the same formula over and over and over again and not really innovating all that much, that it's starting to become like Call of Duty. So I think Bad Company is what they need in order to kind of revitalize the Battlefield series and breathe fresh life into it, because, the same shit over and over and over again is not going to fix the problems that the series has. We definitely need something different. I know a lot of people might be turned away by Bad Company 3 because remember Bad Company 1 and 2, you couldn't go prone. It definitely felt more arcadey than the mainline entries in the Battlefield series, because remember, the Bad Company games were made specifically for consoles. The first Bad Company didn't even make it to PC. And even though Bad Company 2 did get a PC release, you can tell that that game was also made for console players. So I can imagine a lot of the Battlefield community might not appreciate a Bad Company 3, especially those that primarily play on PC. But then again, I'm a PC gamer primarily, and I still love Battlefield Bad Company 2. I still think it's the greatest Battlefield game ever made, because it wasn't... So maybe it appealed a lot to console players. You didn't have prone, which I feel like a lot of people might not like, and I'm afraid that if they do make a Bad Company 3, they'll put prone in the game, which I really won't like, because I love... Don't get me wrong, I love going prone, but that was part of what made Bad Company 2 so special, is that you couldn't go prone. It was a lot harder to just lay down the field in the middle of the grass and camp. Like, if you can only crouch instead of going prone, it was a lot harder to just camp with a sniper rifle, even though Bad Company 2 has a lot of campers, but not as much as Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and all the later entries in the series, because going prone makes it a lot harder to spot. Like, it's a lot harder to find you if you're prone on top of a building or in a field or wherever. So having crouch only and not being able to go prone, that's one of the things that made Bad Company 2 so special. And I feel like if they put prone into Bad Company 3, I'm not gonna like that if they decide to do that. If they even make the game. This is all hypothetical, but still, if they do decide to release a Bad Company 3, I have a bad feeling that they're gonna fuck around with the Bad Company formula, put prone into the game, and make it feel more like a regular Battlefield game than a Bad Company game. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be a good thing if Bad Company 3 came out, because they would just fuck with it so much that they're better off just not making one, and because they piss a lot of people off, including myself, that love the original Bad Company games. But I imagine what DICE is thinking is that releasing a Bad Company 3, it would be a lose-lose situation, because if they do stay true to the Bad Company formula, a lot of the traditional Battlefield fans, the people who have even played Battlefield since 2011 and didn't even play Bad Company 2, they're going to see all these changes and be like, what the fuck? This isn't Battlefield. You know, you can't go prone. The shooting mechanics are a lot more arcadey and less tactical and military-based than the regular Battlefield games. People are going to look at this shit and be like, what the fuck? Fuck this game. You know what I mean? I feel like DICE is afraid of that, and that's why they haven't made a Bad Company 3 in so many years, and they might possibly never make one. But I still think DICE should at least try to take that risk, because, like I said, Battlefield really needs to reinvent itself. It needs to do something different, something that they haven't done in a while, and a Bad Company 3, I think, would be that game that kind of gets people interested in the series again, even though it might piss some people off that it doesn't play exactly like the old Battlefield games that they remember. Their Battlefield 3s, their Battlefield 4s. I think we still should have a Bad Company 3 rather than a Battlefield 6, because it changes the formula a little bit. It makes the series feel a lot more fresh than if they just keep doing the same shit over and over and over again. I imagine with the new Frostbite engine, Bad Company 3 can have even more destructible environments, because remember, that was the big thing with Bad Company 2. It had the most destructible environments out of all the other Battlefield games. It was more destructible than Battlefield 3. You know, you could argue that, oh, Battlefield 4 was so much more destructible because you had Levolution and the entire map can blow up. But, like, that shit was scripted as hell, man. Like, you know, that big skyscraper, you know, it collapses, and it's just, like, it's the same thing over and over and over again. And that's the same thing with a lot of these other Battlefield games. Like, the destructible environments are cool, I guess, but they're, first of all, they're not as destructible. You can't blow up as much stuff in the newer Battlefield games as you could in Bad Company 2. So it gives you a lot less options. So if there's a camper, you know, hiding in a little building, you know, in Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1, you could blow up a lot of the buildings and take them down, but in Bad Company 2, you can literally destroy everything. You can destroy all the trees. You can destroy pretty much every building in the game. There wasn't really anything that you couldn't destroy. Like, almost every structure in the map you can blow up instantly, and the campers can get fucked. But, you know, in the newer ones, it just feels a lot more scripted and less authentic. And you know, that's the thing. The matches that you keep playing, and, you know, you'll play a lot of games of Conquest for half hour to an hour, you know? So you want that experience to feel fresh each and every time. And I feel like with the new Battlefield games, they kind of lost that, especially with destructibility. Man, Battlefield Bad Company 2 has the best destructibility of all the Battlefield games, because not only could you destroy buildings and destroy almost everything in the map, but you could also destroy the actual ground and dig foxholes. You could put a whole bunch of C4 on the floor, blow it up, and actually dig yourself a hole that you can kind of use as a trench. I mean, it's shit like that that you don't really see in the newer Battlefield games, because the newer Battlefield games, like I said, they feel a lot more scripted, they feel a lot more planned, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel as authentic of a Battlefield experience as Bad Company 2 did. Because the whole thing about Battlefield is that it's an open sandbox. You have so many options. You can do a lot more than you could with, like, a regular FPS game like Call of Duty, where everything is just there and you have to follow the rules. But with Battlefield, oh, you can destroy this, you can blow up that. I feel like that was always the big selling point of Battlefield. Well, what had the most destructible environments? What had the most freedom? What had the most creativity of all the Battlefield games? It was Bad Company 2. So I think a Bad Company 3 with an updated Frostbite engine with a lot more power at their disposal could make Battlefield Bad Company 3 even better than Bad Company 2 was. And how about the campaign? They can make a Bad Company 3 single-player campaign, because we all know the Bad Company games are the only games in all Battlefield that actually had a decent campaign and a decent story. Battlefield 3, 4, 1, 5, all the campaigns for all those games were fucking terrible. Nobody even remembers any of the shit that happened in those games. But Bad Company 1 and 2, those were some iconic moments with iconic characters. So it'd be awesome to have a single-player game that doesn't take itself so seriously, and just a Battlefield game that doesn't take itself so goddamn seriously. I know a lot of people might not like that. They like Battlefield because it's like a military simulator. They play Metro and Operation Locker 24/7, and they want to feel like they're a soldier in the military. And no, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. There are people who play Battlefield because it's a more realistic game compared to Call of Duty and some other FPS games in the market. I understand that, and I think eventually there should be a game for you. There should be a Battlefield 6. There should be a Battlefield game that does that for you, but I think we should get Battlefield Bad Company 3 before they do that again. And I think making a Battlefield game that focuses more on the fun factor and maybe have a little bit more arcadey and less serious than the mainline Battlefield games, I think that's the best shot DICE has at bringing in new players into the Battlefield series, because that's exactly what happened with me. I didn't even give a shit about Battlefield until Bad Company 2 came out, and then it got me to play Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and all the other ones. I feel like if Bad Company 2 never happened, I would have never become a Battlefield fan, ever. And I think Bad Company 3 could also introduce a lot of new people into the Battlefield series. Even if it might piss off a lot of the people that loved Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and expecting there to be a new version of that game as the next Battlefield. And then they see Bad Company 3. It's less tactical, it's more arcadey, but it's also more destructive. And you think Battlefield fans would like that. So you could appeal to everybody. It doesn't have to be fuck the original Battlefield fans, fuck the people who played Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. It doesn't have to be like that. I think they can make a game that can appeal to all Battlefield players, new and old. They can create the most destructible Battlefield game to ever exist, maybe have a Cold War setting. How about they go back to Vietnam? Remember the Bad Company 2 Vietnam DLC? Probably one of the greatest DLCs ever made. It would be amazing if we got to see the Battlefield series go back to Vietnam in the form of Bad Company 3. And that would be really fucking cool. And this is another thing that might make a lot of Battlefield players pissed off if they do this, but I think they should if they really want to stay true to Bad Company. Don't put jets in the game. Don't focus so much on air combat. It really should be an infantry-focused Battlefield experience. And Bad Company 2 had tanks, right? You had tanks, you had helicopters. That's fine, but don't go all crazy with the jets and a whole bunch of the shit that you had in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. It really should be more focused on infantry. It should be more arcadey. It should feel a little bit more clunky and less tactical and realistic than the Battlefield games we've had in recent years, because it should have a different presentation. It should feel different, because I feel like that's what the Battlefield series really needs right now. But that's all I got for today. Let me know in the comments section if you want to see Battlefield Bad Company 3 in the future, if you want it to be the next Battlefield game. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.